We are in Verona to catch up with a good friend of total Italian football, Luca Toni. The Hellas captain is a World Cup winner who has finished Serie A top scorer twice. You have had such a big success. It is difficult to decide where to start. But let's start with your second youth. Were you surprised to finish capocannoniere at 38 years old?
I certainly didn't expect to score so many goals. And the fact that I still want to play is because I can still offer something. I made history because I'm Serie A's oldest top goal scorer, even if I don't like such records, because they mean I'm getting old. Anyway, jokes aside, I'm happy.
Such a successful career for Luca Toni, but can you tell us what you are most proud about?
The greatest moment of my career was the World Cup in 2006. I was lucky enough to have been selected, to have done well, to be part of a strong squad. It's hard to explain how wonderful it feels to be on top of the world.
There are now only a few survivors from the Italy World Cup winning team in 2006. One is Francesco Totti. What do you think your friend is going through at the moment at Roma?
It's a real pity because he's part of AS Roma's history, and it would be fantastic if he could finish on a high like all the great stars, so that his fans can applaud him on the pitch for a bit longer.
Your goal celebration has become your trademark. Where did the idea come from?
Well, it all started off in Palermo. We were eating a meal with teammates, and a friend of mine who was with us made this gesture to say, "Do you understand what I've just said?" By chance, I scored the next Sunday and used that gesture for the first time. And because players can be superstitious, I kept doing it. I love the fact that youngsters now recognise me for this celebration.
But your Serie A debut came when you were 23 playing for Vicenza. What do you remember from that day?
How could I ever forget my Serie A debut? It was at the Siro against Milan, and we had been staying at a hotel near the stadium. I'd only ever seen the Miazza on television, and it's very foreboding. So to think that the next day I would play there made it a wonderful evening. I remember I asked Paolo Maldini for his shirt at full time.
After Palermo, Florence. Everything went to perfection in your first season with Fiorentina.
I started scoring as soon as I arrived, so it wasn't a surprise that I became a hero of the fans. These Thunder and Lightning t-shirts were printed. They were then auctioned for charity. The proceeds went to the Meyer Children's Hospital in Florence. They were able to construct a wing from the money that we raised.
And then after Fiorentina, in Italy, you play in Roma, Genoa and Juventus.
Those years went very quickly because I was there at those three teams for only a short time. You could say I packed a lot into 2 years. The best thing that happened to me at Juventus was when I scored my 100th goal in Serie A, a header from outside the area at Cagliari. It made it 3-1. I remember it well because it was an unusual goal.
And now let's talk about your goals in Serie A. Which one you want to start with?
Even if it was not a beautiful goal, I don't think anyone ever forgets their first goal in Serie A. Another I remember was my 300th. I scored it at Udinese. For a striker to reach 300 goals is quite something.
And now let's talk about Luca out of the pitch. What kind of childhood did you have?
Well, I came from what we can call an old-fashioned background, considering how families are today. My youth was made up of a lot of bus journeys because I went to school in the mountains and then came back down where my mother gave me my football kit and a snack, and I went straight to training. I came home late and my mum helped me with my homework. I suppose I can admit it now, but she did most of it. But I copied her well.
In the past, you said that your friends would have had to look after you if you did not make it as a football player.
They supported me because I didn't have a penny. I went out with them, and because they were older, they paid for everything. And I think they made a good investment because now, thankfully, I'm able to pay them back by inviting them out for good meals and nights out.
Anche, diciamo, qualche belle cene, qualche bella serata.
And now a couple of curious facts. First one, it is true that Alessandro Matri was living in your house in Florence. Did he pay his rent on time?
Yes, it's true. Alessandro was my tenant. I have a nice house in Florence and I couldn't wait to live there. But then Fiorentina sold me and I couldn't move in. At the same time, Alessandro moved to the club. We have a good relationship, so I didn't ask for any rent.
And the second one, it is true that Giampaolo Pazzini agreed terms with Verona at your son's christening?
Yes, I also invited the club president. When Pazzini arrived, we took a photo together, which I sent to the coach. I said, "Look at these two great strikers." Did this move to Hellas happen because of that photo? I don't know.
We'd like to finish with an advice from Luca Toni to all those children who dream of to become a football player.
The only thing I can say is that I started out in a tiny village called Stella, which had hardly any people. It's in the hills of Modena. And then I went on to win the World Cup. I only achieved these things by making a lot of sacrifices and without any contacts in football. My parents didn't know anyone. Not everyone can win major honours, but when you play sport, in life you win whatever happens.
Thanks, Luca, and all the best for the rest of your career. Not the end, the rest.
Per la fine.
The end? Thanks.
Grazie mille, saluto a tutti.